What is up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22. This is Betting the NFL Wild Card Weekend. Yes, the regular season is done, but that doesn't mean we still don't have opportunities to make money. It's less opportunities, less games to pick from, a little harder to choose, especially with these spreads this week. But I'm still gonna try to make you money the best I can because that's what the show is about. Winning you guys some money. Obviously, I am not here with my co-host Derek Weatherly, but he is in the chat right here. He says he's here in spirit, but he's having technical issues, so we will be without him. But hopefully, he can still give us his picks in the chat, so you will have them, and I'll let you know what his picks will be if he will put them in the chat there. But I'll start off like I do every week with the recap of last week, the final week of the regular season. But I will not be going over the trends I usually do because those trends will not help us in the playoffs because just less games. It's not the same. Obviously playoff games are much different than the regular season. So those trends won't unfortunately won't help us in these games. But I'll start with the biggest upset of the week came, and I'm sorry to say it came in my with my Cowboys at the Washington Commanders plus 7.5 on the money line. They were plus 270. Final score was 6-26. With this, we still had a chance to win the division. We still had a chance to get a better seed in the playoffs. But the Cowboys didn't rest their starters, but the results pretty much look like they should. They did rest their starters for how bad and terrible of a game it was for my Cowboys. But Dak played probably his worst game of his career. I thought it was the Bucs. I didn't think the Bucs game could be topped, but he certainly did it. 14 of 37, 128 yards, one touchdown, one interception. It was just such a struggle to see him try to complete a pass. The receivers weren't able to get open. They weren't catching the ball. Dak was off target. The Cowboys just, kept putting the defense in bad spots with going 3-and-out all game long, and then turning the ball over. And, if the Commanders weren't playing their third string quarterback, this game could have been worse. And then it was then it looked like 26-6. I mean, it should have been a lot worse than that. But the Commanders really didn't take advantage of, resting a lot of guys themselves. But the Cowboys, we couldn't run the ball. The offensive line had a couple injuries that shift things around, made it hard for us to run block. So it just ultimately just led to an extremely poor outcome for us. And now we have to go into the playoffs with, kind of not playing our best football right now. But hopefully we can overcome that. We'll look better in the playoffs because, people like to say we play down to competition. And if that's true, then the opposite must be true. And we'll play up to our competition, and we'll be able to compete with the better teams in the playoffs. At least that is my hope. But next, we have the largest cover against the spread of the final week, and that was in the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers minus 2.5. Final score was 14-28, and the Steelers were not only fighting for the last remaining spot in the playoffs, but Mike Tomlin was also trying to keep his streak alive of never having to lose a season. They needed the Dolphins and the Patriots to lose. Only one of those things happened, and therefore they were eliminated. But Mike Tomlin was able to get another winning season. They were able to win by 2 touchdowns, just the way I thought they would have. That's why I picked them. This was one of my picks, and I picked Steelers because of their defense, and I thought the defense was going to be able to contain Nick Chubb, and he just got 77 yards rushing. And they pressured Watson all game. They sacked him 7 times. They forced him into 2 interceptions, and the Browns receivers were not able to be effective. And the Steelers ran the ball a lot. And Pickett, may have been inaccurate, but he made enough plays to get the job done. And they covered the spread by 11.5 points. So that was good for me as picking the Steelers. And that's how they finished off their season with another winning season for Tomlin. But they were eliminated from the playoffs. Next, I have the bad beat of the week. Now was in the Houston Texans. They were 2.5-point underdogs against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. The final score was 32-31. And they were up 31-24 with 3:33 left in the game. And the Colts just needed to make one stop to win the game and cover the spread because, obviously they were covering with a 7-point lead. The Texans got all the way down to the Colts 28-yard line with 50 seconds left on the clock. It was 4th and 20. And Davis Mills throws up a hell of a Hail Mary into the end zone. And it just goes right through the defender's hands, into the tight end's hands, and they scored the touchdown. And even though that by losing this game, it would have gotten them the number 1 overall pick in the draft, they decided to go for 2 to try to win the game in regulation. And rather than go into overtime and try to win it there, they go right back to the tight end. They convert it, and then that's how it led to the Colts getting they're ending their season with the bad beat of the week. And ultimately, it's kind of bad for both teams because Texans fall to number 2 in the draft. Bears go to get the number 1 pick, and Lovie Smith gets fired. So I think it was bad all around for both teams there. But that's why it was just a bad beat for everybody. But that is but I'll get to my personal picks of the week of week 18. And I went 3-2, pretty good week. Bounced back from some couple horrible weeks that I had. But I ultimately overall I went 42-44-3 in the regular season. I will continue that record in the playoffs to try to end the season with a winning record. So that is the goal. But my best pick of the week was the New York Giants plus 14 at the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the score was 16-22. And even though the Giants might, I thought the Giants might play the starters. At least that's what Dable said after the game. Obviously, he changed his mind later on in the week. But they didn't have anything to play for. So obviously, they rest their guys. And but I still felt good about my pick. I mean, the Giants were still getting 14 points. And like the whole season that I've been talking about this, the matchups with divisional teams, win records, favors the underdog. And yet again, it hit the underdog covered. And, and then I won at least this pick. The Giants backups, played pretty hard. They never gave up. They were down 19-0 to the Eagles, and then they just slowly kind of fought back, and they finally finished the game with 2 drives with touchdowns, and that was enough to cover this very large spread. And Jalen Hurts' first game back from injury did not play well. 20 of 35, 229 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. And this was against the Giants backups. He couldn't even get his rushing game going, as he only had 13 yards on 9 carries. They struggled to score. They only had 1 touchdown in the game. The rest was all field goals. The Giants, They go into the playoffs with a little bit of rest here, and they like to get the upset over the Vikings. But overall, this is a great pick for me, and that's why you pick these types of matchups this season, because it's been hitting all season long, and once again, it hits again. So that's one trend that has not gone the other way. Is always favored the underdog. So we'll see if that holds on in the playoffs going forward. I'm hoping so, because that is a little foreshadowing. That is one of my picks. But we'll finish off with my worst pick. And that was the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers were 4.5-point favorites. Final score was 20-16. And I thought with the Packers, I thought the Packers had all the momentum. I thought they had everything they needed to win this game. They were the home team. They were playing better on defense. I thought they finally figured out how to run the ball, at least run the ball more. And I thought that was being very effective for them and the key to how they were winning these football games. But the defense played fairly well in this game. They held Goff to 23 of 34 for only 224 yards and 0 touchdowns. They held Jamal Williams okay, 72 yards, but they couldn't stop him when they had to. When it was most crucial for them, because he scored 2 touchdowns. I also thought they would run the ball a lot better than they did. I mean, every team kind of runs the ball in the Lions, and they have 2 good backs, and that didn't, and they only combined for about 81 yards. So they couldn't really run a ball, or they just chose not to run the ball. And then Rodgers pretty much played how he been playing all season, which is kind of mediocre. But they needed him to just get back to what he was in his MVP seasons, at least just for a series or two, for them to win this game, because it was only a 4-point game. He still could have won it, but he could never just get back to form pretty much all season. The Lions were even eliminated before the game, so that should have given the Packers even more motivation. Like I said, felt like they had all they needed to go and win this game. They just could not pull it off, and now both of these teams are eliminated from the playoffs, and the Seahawks are in the playoffs now. And that's pretty much how the regular season ended with that game. We're gonna go into the playoffs, trying to win, trying to win every game we can. Like I said, less games, less opportunities, less games to pick from, but we're still gonna do our best and win some of these bets. But before we do that, if you can help, we'd like to help you guys out. If you can help us out by liking this video, if you can subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you really want to help us out, join our Patreon. The link is in the description down below. Just click on it, join whatever tier that suits you. That'd really help us out, and we really want to help you guys out. So go ahead and do that if you can. But now we will get to our wild card weekend bets of the week. And I'm going to start with the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are 10-point favorites. And, though Geno Smith started the season off red hot, he gradually cooled off towards the end of the season. In 3 of the last 4 games, the Seahawks have failed to score 20 points. In their last game, in which they had to win to get into the playoffs, Geno threw 2 picks. One of them was on the very first play of the game. And this was against a bad Rams team. They struggled to score points against them. It took until overtime to just score 19 points and finally win the game. They are going against the best defense in the league. That is number 1 in scoring defense. And in the last 2 games, 49ers won both those games in which they were able to shut down the Seahawks running game. Kenneth Walker became totally ineffective. The Niners have the number 2 ranked rush defense in the league, and will be able to shut down the Seahawks once again. And Christian McCaffrey has been a great addition to this 49ers team in both the running game and the pass game. I think he's a big reason for Brock Purdy playing so well. Um, Brock Purdy hasn't lost a game since he became the starter for the Niners, and he isn't going to start this week. Definitely think they win the game, but do they cover? I do think they cover. It's a big spread, but I don't think it's too big for the Niners because the Niners are a fantastic team against the spread. They are 7-1 in the last 8 games, 5-0 at home against the spread in the last 5 games, and Seattle has been pretty bad in their last 8 games against the spread, 1-7 um, in their last 8 games. So pretty bad there. Seahawks have not been good in the second half of the season as they were in the first half. That's why I really like the 49ers. I think they're much hotter, playing much better than the Seahawks are, especially with the Seahawks game just last week where they were struggling. So I think the Niners can and they will cover this 10-point spread. They're at home. They got everything they need. So I do think they will cover that 10 points there. And now DWeezy has his pick. He has on his bet, he has San Francisco -9.5. It says targeting Christian McCaffrey to play a big factor, and Seattle has the 30th rush defense. Would lean to the over for Christian McCaffrey rush prop, and it's a good pick. So I think we're both on the same side there. We're both like the Niners in this one, covering, and we both think Christian McCaffrey is going to play a big factor. And Seattle defense not great, so everything is going against the Niners. Everything is going for the Niners to cover this spread and against the Seahawks. Points for the Seahawks will be an issue. That is something I brought up. I just mentioned that. The Seahawks struggle to score points. They haven't scored 20 points. They've in the last few games of the season. They've struggled to score even just 20 points. It'll definitely be a big problem for them. They're just not going to be able to compete with the Niners and this one. But the next game I have is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this game, it's been the line has been moving a little bit. On Tuesday, I saw it at a 1-point favorite for the Chargers. Now it's about 2.5. It's shifted a little bit, but still, I think the line is still too small and shifting a little too much for me. I'm just gonna straight up go on the money line. I'm gonna take the Jaguars on the money line plus 110, pretty much kind of even money there. The point spread, like I said, it's just low enough where I can just take the Jaguars straight up. I like but they are a small underdog, so I still like them as a home underdog in this one. I am not a believer in the Chargers team, especially not their coach. He makes too many mistakes, too many questionable decisions, and he just I think it's a big reason why they lose some close games. Since being 5-5 through the first 10 games of the season, they were able to go 5-2 for the rest of the way. But how did they do that? How did they go 5-2? Well, it was really easy schedule down the stretch for them. They beat the Cardinals, who were not good. They lost to the Raiders, who were not good. They beat the Dolphins, when Tua threw like a bunch of picks. Beat the Titans, were losing like 8 games straight during that stretch. Beat the Colts, who are not good. Beat the Rams, who are not good, and lost to the Broncos, who are not good. So they had a really easy schedule. So they went 5-2 and made the playoffs with an extremely easy schedule. And and they only beat one playoff team there, the worst playoff team, the 7th seed in the AFC, who barely got in. So this chart, like I said, I think the Chargers team is more closer to that 5-5 team that started the season than that 5-2 team, because it's just how their schedule played out, and I really don't think they're that good. I think they're and then the Jaguars on the other hand, 3-7 through 10 games, and then went 6-1 down the stretch. But they had much harder opponents. They beat the Ravens, who were a playoff team. They beat the Cowboys, who were a playoff team, including the rival Titans twice, and one for the division. I think they have had a harder road to get the playoffs. I think they are a harder team than the Chargers. I believe both quarterbacks will probably play well, but I think the difference will be in the run game. I think Travis Etienne will be able to run on the Chargers, as the Chargers only have the 27th ranked rushing defense. You can run on this team. I think Travis Etienne will do just that. The Chargers don't run the ball themselves. They're 30th in rushing. And also, just West Coast teams just have this thing about traveling to the East Coast. They always have problems when they have to go across the country to the East Coast. And I think that might play a factor as well in this game. The Jaguars went 5-0 in their last 5 games, 6-1 straight up in the last 7 games against AFC opponents. I like the Jaguars here. They're at home. I think they're a small underdog, but I still like them to win this game. Probably a close one. All right, DWeezy got he's gonna fade the Jags, riding with the Chargers. Also, Lawrence 10-7 under 1.5 touchdowns this season. Chargers on the money line, so he has the money line as well as I do. Like I said, just a small point spread, so it's just not worth taking there. So we're both going on the money line. We're on opposite sides. He likes the Chargers. I like the Jags. We'll see how it plays out. Next playoff game, we got the Miami Dolphins plus 13.5 at the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, I've been talking about it all season. I talked about it earlier in the episode, and it's just I'm going to talk about it again. Going with the what has happened throughout the season, these divisional matchups with big point spreads, the underdog has covered the majority of the time. I'm pretty much, I think, every time, honestly. The Dolphins won their first matchup, and the Bills won the second one just by 2 points in Buffalo. Obviously, we now know Tua won't play in this game, but I think the Dolphins' run game will be more important because Raheem Mostert was able to run all over the Bills' defense the last time they played. He ran for 136 yards. The Bills also haven't really figured out to stop Jalen Waddle. He had over 100 yards in both games. Outside of Josh Allen, the Bills' running game hasn't really done much against the Dolphins. Has been all on Allen to make plays for the Bills, which way they've had some difficulties with the Dolphins. And yes, Skylar Thompson is going to probably start. And honestly, like I said, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think Tua was really playing that well down the stretch of the season, anyways. It's just for like I said, just a divisional matchup against 2 winning teams. I think it'll be a little bit closer than what this spread suggests. I mean, if you're going to give me 13.5 points, I'm going to take them. It's just like the same what we saw with Eagles and Giants, or Commanders and Cowboys. That both those underdogs covered in those divisional games, even without even when they're playing their backups. They had backup quarterbacks in that, and they still were able to cover. So I think even with a backup quarterback, you can still cover a 13.5 point spread. I think they're still capable of doing that. I'll take the Bills to win the game, Probably like a touchdown to 10 points, but not probably not 14. So I'll take the Dolphins with the points in this one. Uh, DWeezy's got the divisional game with a double-digit spread. Taking the dog is a principal play. Cold game and expect Buffalo to gain it out more. Oh, it said grind it out more than what some think. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We're both on the same page in that game. We both think it's going to be a closer game than this spread suggests. And Buffalo might have a little bit struggling of time scoring points there, which will definitely benefit the Dolphins in the game because they probably won't be able to score much points with their issues at quarterback. But like I said, I don't think that's as important as if they can run on the Bills, then they can keep Josh Allen off the field, which will obviously limit his opportunities to score himself. Um, but next, we have the New York Giants +3 at the Minnesota Vikings. You know, if the Vikings weren't so goddamn lucky winning in these close games, I would probably pick the Giants on the money line to just win this game straight up. Um, I actually do feel the Giants can get the upset in this one, but like I said, the Vikings have been really lucky in these close games. Um, you know, if they do win, they're probably going to win just as they did last time by a field goal or some small margin. Um, but I think the Vikings been frauds all season. I think that they've been blown out twice. They were blown out for a half, about a half against the Colts. The Giants should have won probably last game against the Vikings. They just had too many mistakes and had too many drop balls in that game, and it took a 61-yard field goal to beat the Giants. Both quarterbacks were able to have nice days in the last one, but the Giants weren't able to stop Jefferson and Hawkinson. But the Giants had more total yards and ran the ball better than the Vikings did in that game. Barkley had like 133 total yards and a touchdown. And if Barkley can have another good game um, this time around, that's definitely going to give the Giants the edge in this game. Kirk Cousins is just 1-3 in the playoffs, and if the Giants can get some pressure on him, they can which they've been pretty good at getting some pressure down the stretch of these last few games. They can force him to make mistakes, and he's going to give you the ball. And the Vikings, second worst passing defense and the 20th ranked rushing defense. So they have problems on that side of the ball, and I definitely think the Giants will be able to take advantage of both those things, running and passing. The Giants have been great against the spread, 13-4 this season, 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, but also 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 road games. The Vikings, on the other hand, 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 games, and 2-8-1 against the spread in the last 11 games against an NFC opponent. So obviously, Vikings don't cover. And like I said, even if they do win, they're not going to cover the spread. Probably a very small margin. I'm going to take the Giants with the points in this one. All right, let's see. Ferris says, let's get this money. And he says, Giants are right. I have to agree with him. I don't like agreeing with him because he is my good friend and better rival. So I don't like agreeing with him, but I do agree with him. Giants outright, and that's why I like him in this game. And then DWeezy has the Giants on the spread. Kirk Cousins in prime time is an automatic fade. But I don't know if it's in prime, but I think it's at 130. But I think just in these single standalone games, I think that's more of his what gets at him than what time of day it is. Vikings went outright and don't cover the points. I kind of I can see that. That's why I said because they're just I said that at the beginning. They just get so damn lucky in these games that I could just see them just winning. That's why I have to So I'm not going to take it on the money line. So I have to take the points with the Giants because they just get so goddamn lucky in these close games that that the Vikings will come out the winner somehow, some way. Say Ferris's playoff games is always prime time. Well, I mean, prime time in a prime time lineup. You're talking on television. You're talking about late night, prime time showing. Not but yeah, I guess you can see it the way if you want. Yeah, and DWeezy says the same thing. Playoff counts in this, but like I said, I think it's more of just him being in standalone games is what gets him. But that's that game. Now, for my I think for my final pick is the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. It is still up in the air whether Lamar Jackson will play or not in this game. Even if he does, I don't really think he's going to be 100%. He hasn't played in 6 weeks, so he's definitely going to be rusty. And if he plays at all, he's just not going to be the same old Lamar Jackson. I don't think, at least. And then the Bengals are entering this game with an 8-game win streak. The Ravens won the first matchup. The Bengals were still kind of getting their offense together, but in the last 8 games, they definitely got it together because they've been on fire. And if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, well, then we just saw what happened when he doesn't play. We've been seeing that the last few weeks, and we just saw it last night, this past week, of how that goes. And the Bengals won by 11 points, and the Ravens quarterback play was pretty bad. And I just don't think the Ravens, with their lack of weapons on offense, can really just keep up with the Bengals' offensive firepower. I think Joe Burrow is definitely going to play well enough to take advantage of the Ravens' passing defense, which is ranked 24th in the league. And the Bengals, great against the spread all season, going 12-4, and they are 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games. Baltimore is just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 games against AFC North opponents. So in the division, Baltimore not good at covering the spread. Is 6.5 points. The Bengals are laying the 6.5, and I'll take that. I'll lay that 6.5 with the Bengals. It's not too big of a point spread. It's not a huge point spread at all. And I definitely think the Bengals can score a lot of points in this game. And I just don't think the Ravens can do the same and keep up with them. And that's why I think the Bengals will cover in this one. Bengals 6-1, and expecting no Lamar. Yeah, I pretty much think that's how it will turn out. Cincinnati will cover. Strong pass offense against a pass defense that has struggled against a better receiving course. Yep, that's what the numbers have shown through the season. But yeah, but that is 6-1 at home. Okay, Bengals 6-1 at home. That's what we meant. All right. I don't know if DWeezy has the Cowboys pick. I'm not gonna pick that game because I only have to pick 5 games. That is the beauty of this show. I only have to pick 5 games. I don't have to pick all the playoff games because there's 6 playoff games, but I only have to make 5 picks a show. So I'm not gonna pick that game. But I'm not sure if DWeezy has that is picking the Cowboys Buccaneers game. But all I'll say is that the public money is on the Buccaneers. The sharp money is on the Cowboys. So, take that as you will. I mean, sharps not always right. Sharps are just more right more often than the public. And DWeezy says he's got the Cowboys win outright. The spread is 3 points in that game. But like I said, I only have to make 5 picks, so I'm not going to pick that game. Betting against Brady is an automatic sweat in the playoffs. I agree. I think it's just too hard of a game for me to pick, and I don't want to pick against my team. I don't kind of want to jinx picking for my team. I just don't want to pick it at all. So I'm just going to stay away from it and not pick the game at all. But if you can go right ahead, you feel confident about either way, then by all means, go ahead and bet as much as you want. But that is all the picks in the for this wild card weekend that I have for you, and that is the show for now until the next round, the divisional round. Hopefully, my Cowboys are in the divisional round, but we'll have to see. Let's see. Ferris has Tampa Bay and Tampa all day against Dallas. Well, you're just a hater, and that's why you're a despicable person. But um, that is that. But you can find me at NFL Caleb 22 on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on this channel doing good friends, better rivals with this despicable human being right here, Ferris Mutana. He's my co-host, and we on Mondays talking Cowboys Giants, and not sure on we're going next week, considering the Cowboys play on Monday night. But we will recap both those games for you, and if we're still alive in the playoffs, preview um, we'll preview the games in that week. We also will preview the games this week as well, later on this week, for the Cowboys games against the Bucks and the Giants game against um, Cowboys game for the Cowboys game against the Bucks and Giants game against the Vikings. Yes, we all know he's never lost to Dallas. Yes, we all know that. Good for him. And that's in the regular season. That's a regular season stat, and that doesn't apply in the playoffs. But yeah, that's all I got for now. That is the show. But hopefully we can win you some money this week. Hopefully we're gonna win you money all throughout the playoffs, because we'll be going all the way to the Super Bowl, making bets for you. And yeah, hopefully we can all win some money. But for now, like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.